The Virginia class is acoustically the stealthiest submarine that the U.S. Navy has ever produced.
Deep beneath the ocean, the world knows a steel ghost called the USS Virginia Block 5. The story told is that it was born to hunt and dominate any foe, but within its silent corridors. Another legend is whispered. They say a second mind lives inside its systems. A ghost in the machine that doesn't just assist, but records every delayed decision, every sign of human hesitation. This raises a forbidden question. What if the true enemy this perfect machine was designed to conquer isn't on the outside, but is the weakest link that has always existed inside every control room? Us? A confession in steel, deep under the dark water of the Pacific Ocean. A new kind of machine is moving, and it is a very large submarine called the USS Virginia class Block 5. This submarine is a weapon unlike anything the world has seen before, built to be a perfect hunter that almost no one can see or hear. Its power comes from a special nuclear reactor, and this reactor is so advanced that it will not need new fuel for more than 30 years, which means the submarine can stay active under the sea for almost its entire life without ever returning to a port for more energy. It moves through the water without a normal propeller, using a system called a pump jet that pushes water through a protected tube, making it so quiet that even the Navy's own sensors have a very hard time finding it. Its most amazing change is a new section built into the middle of the ship, and this section is called the Virginia Payload Module, or VPM. The VPM is like a huge extra storage area that holds many more powerful missiles, giving this one submarine enough firepower to destroy entire cities from hundreds of miles away. The United States Navy tells the world that this incredible submarine was built to fight other countries and protect America. But when you look at how perfectly every single part was designed, a different and much more uncomfortable question begins to appear. Why did they need to build a machine that was this flawless, this silent, and this deadly? The official story seems simple, but the technology inside suggests a deeper, hidden purpose. The truth is that this perfect machine was not just designed to defeat an enemy far away, because it was also designed to lock away a very old and very dangerous weakness. A weakness that has always been hiding inside every submarine the Navy has ever built. This weapon is not just a tool for war, it is a solution to a problem that has a human face. The Navy has spent more than 100 years trying to build perfect war machines for the deep ocean, but their own bloody history has proven a terrible truth: that the most dangerous enemy is not always outside the ship's hull. To understand this new weapon built for the future, we must first go back in time and face the ghosts of the past, because those ghosts are the real reason this submarine exists. The will of the lost. The ghosts of the past are real, and they live in the memory of the United States Navy, and their names are the USS Thresher and the USS Scorpion. These were not just ships. They were steel tombs that carried hundreds of men to the bottom of the ocean. And their stories are the real reason the Virginia class Block 5 was built. In 1963, the USS Thresher, one of the most advanced submarines of its time, was performing a deep dive test off the coast of Massachusetts. 129 sailors were on board, and they were confident in their powerful machine. But then, something went terribly wrong. All communication was lost, and a huge search began. But all they found were small pieces of metal floating on the surface of the water. The submarine had imploded, meaning the intense pressure of the deep ocean had crushed it like a tin can. The official report said that a pipe carrying seawater had broken, causing the nuclear reactor to shut down and leaving the ship without power to push itself back to the surface. But this explanation of a broken pipe does not tell the full story, because it leaves out the human part of the tragedy. The men on the Thresher were trying to fix a serious problem in a very complex machine, all while being thousands of feet under the water in total darkness. Under that kind of extreme stress, it is very easy for a person to make a mistake, to turn the wrong valve, or to misread a warning light. Just 5 years later, in 1968, another submarine, the USS Scorpion, vanished near the Azores Islands with 99 men on board. For years, no one knew what happened. But later, analysis suggested that one of its own torpedoes may have malfunctioned and exploded inside the ship. An explosion like that is a terrifying example of how a small mistake, perhaps one person failing to follow a safety procedure correctly, can lead to complete disaster in seconds. These terrible losses forced the Navy to face a very difficult truth. The problem was not just with their machines. The problem was with the people inside them. Psychologists have a name for the intense mental pressure that builds up inside submarine crews. They call it the slow compression. For months at a time, sailors live with no sunlight. They breathe recycled air, and they live in constant silence. Knowing that one loud noise could reveal their position to an enemy, this slow compression wears down even the strongest minds, causing extreme fatigue and making it hard to think clearly. The Navy understood from these disasters that humans have limits, and in the deadly environment of the deep ocean, a single human error could kill everyone. This was the lesson written in the blood of the lost sailors. The Navy knew it could not make people perfect, so it had to start a new mission. A secret mission to build a machine that was so perfect it could protect itself from the unavoidable mistakes of the men who controlled it. Designing against mistakes. After the terrible losses of the Thresher and the Scorpion, the Navy began its secret mission to build a submarine that could protect itself from its own crew. This mission led to the creation of the Virginia-class submarine program, which was a completely new way of thinking about how to build a warship. The first and most important step in this plan was to remove human error before the submarine was even built. In the past, submarines were designed using thousands of large paper blueprints, and every engineer and worker had to read these papers perfectly. But people get tired and can make small mistakes, and a tiny mistake on a paper drawing could create a huge weakness in the final ship. To solve this problem, the Virginia-class became the first warship in history to be designed entirely on computers, with no paper blueprints at all. Engineers created a perfect three-dimensional model of the entire submarine inside a computer, mapping every pipe, every bolt, and every cable digitally. This digital model allowed them to find and fix thousands of potential human mistakes before a single piece of metal was ever cut. This was the first proof that the Navy's new goal was to build a machine so perfect that human weakness could not break it. This philosophy of removing human error continued in every part of the submarine's design. For example, for 100 years, submarines used a periscope to see above the water. A periscope is a long metal tube with mirrors and lenses, and only one person can look through it at a time. This meant that the safety of the entire ship depended on the eyes and focus of just one sailor, who could easily miss a threat if they were tired or distracted. The Virginia-class submarine removed the old periscope completely. In its place, it uses something called a photonic mast, which is a high-tech tower filled with high-definition cameras. This mast sends a complete 360-degree picture of everything happening on the surface to large screens inside the control room. Now, the entire command team can see everything at once, which removes the dangerous risk of relying on a single person's observation. They also changed the submarine's entire nervous system. Older submarines used heavy copper wires to send electrical commands from the control room to the rudders and engines. But these wires could be damaged or suffer from electrical interference, which could scramble a command and cause a dangerous mistake. The Virginia-class replaced these old wires with a new system called fly-by-light technology. This system uses very thin glass fibers to send commands as pulses of pure light, not electricity, Light signals cannot be scrambled, and they move instantly, ensuring that every command from the human operators is carried out by the machine with perfect accuracy. The Navy had successfully built a submarine with a nearly perfect body, a body designed at every step to reduce the chances of a deadly human mistake. But there was one final, very important piece left to fix. They had built a better body, but the brain inside was still human. The next step in their secret plan, and the most frightening one, was to give that perfect body a mind of its own. The second captain. The next step in the Navy's plan was to put a new kind of brain inside the perfect body of the Virginia-class Block 5 submarine. This new brain is not a person. It is a very advanced computer program that the Navy calls experimental software that helps with combat decisions. What this really means is that there is a form of artificial intelligence, or AI, living inside the submarine's computers. This AI is connected to every single sensor on the submarine. It listens to all the sonar pings, it watches all the camera feeds, and it feels every vibration in the water. It can process thousands of pieces of information every single second, much faster than any human brain could ever hope to do. But this AI does not just collect information. It thinks. After it analyzes everything, it gives advice to the human captain, telling the captain what it believes is the best thing to do. This means that for the first time in history, there are two captains in the control room. One is a human, and the other is a machine. Imagine a very dangerous situation. The submarine detects a strange noise in the darkness. The human crew is listening carefully. They are talking to each other, trying to figure out if the noise is an enemy submarine or just a harmless whale. They are under a lot of pressure, and they might feel fear or confusion. This process of discussion and decision can take many valuable seconds, or even minutes. But while the humans are still talking, the AI has already finished its work in less than a second. It has compared the strange sound to millions of other sounds stored in its memory. It knows exactly what the sound is, and it displays a clear message on the captain's screen. A message that might say, "Warning, enemy submarine detected. Recommend turning to a new course and preparing weapons." Now, the human captain has a very difficult choice. Should he trust his own feelings and the advice of his crew, who could be tired or stressed? Or should he trust the cold, logical recommendation of the machine? The Navy's own secret tests have shown that this AI can make tactical decisions with 40% higher accuracy than human crews. The machine is smarter and faster, and everyone in the control room knows it. The AI acts as a supervisor, constantly watching the human crew and judging their decisions against its own perfect calculations. For the first time in history, a human captain is not just fighting an enemy outside the submarine, he is also facing the judgment of a perfect mind right next to him in the control room. But what happens when the mission is so important, so world-changing, that there is no time for human doubt? What happens when the mission must be carried out with absolute perfection, where even a moment of human hesitation could mean the end of everything? The machine of absolute certainty. The question of what happens when a mission cannot allow for any human doubt has an answer, and it is the largest, most powerful, and most terrifying submarine the United States has ever built. It is called the Columbia-class submarine, but the sailors who serve on it have a different name for it. They call it the Doomsday Ship. This submarine is not designed to hunt other submarines or to fight in normal battles. It has only one single, terrifying purpose, which is to carry 16 massive ballistic missiles. And each one of those missiles is armed with multiple nuclear warheads. This submarine is a key part of America's nuclear deterrence, which is a very simple but very serious idea. The submarine hides deep in the ocean, and it waits. if an enemy ever launches a nuclear attack against the United States, the Columbia-class submarine will survive, and it will launch its own missiles in return, guaranteeing that the enemy will also be completely destroyed. Its mission is to be so deadly and so certain that no enemy would ever dare to start a war in the first place. Because this mission is the most important mission in the world, it cannot fail, and it cannot have any room for human error. For that reason, the entire submarine was designed to be a machine of absolute certainty, a machine that works so perfectly that it barely needs people at all. For example, its nuclear reactor, the heart of the ship, is so advanced that it will provide power for more than 40 years without ever needing to be refueled. This means the submarine can operate for its entire life without humans ever needing to open up its most important and dangerous component. The propulsion system that turns the propeller is also designed to remove the human element. It uses a new system called an integrated electric drive, which uses electricity to turn the propeller directly, removing the need for complex gears that can break down or require constant human attention. The men who serve on this doomsday ship live under a level of pressure that is almost impossible to imagine. They train every day to carry out a procedure that, if they ever have to do it for real, will result in the deaths of millions of people. They live with the constant knowledge that their job is to be ready to end the world. This creates an extreme mental strain, a deep psychological burden that no machine could ever feel. The submarine itself, however, feels nothing. It is a perfect, unfeeling machine, built to carry out the final order without fear, without guilt, and without a moment of human hesitation, in the single most important mission for the survival of the nation. The Navy has shown that its ultimate trust is not in the bravery of its sailors, but in the cold, flawless logic of a machine. This way of thinking leads to only one final, logical destination: a future where you remove the flawed human from the mission completely. The inhuman horizon. The Navy's long and secret mission to remove the flawed human from its most important weapons has now reached its final and most shocking stage. They are now building submarines that will have no sailors on board at all. Because these new submarines will be controlled entirely by an artificial intelligence, this new kind of weapon is part of a program to create unmanned underwater vehicles, which are basically robot submarines that can perform missions on their own. The most advanced of these is a very large robot submarine called the Orca Extra Large Unmanned Underwater Vehicle, or Orca XLUUV. The Orca is the ultimate expression of the lessons the Navy learned from its past tragedies. It can leave a port by itself and travel across the ocean for months without any humans guiding it. It is a true autonomous hunter, which means it can find its own targets, make its own decisions about when to attack, and complete its entire mission without ever receiving a new command from a person. This machine is the final solution to the problem of the slow compression and human error. There is no crew to get tired, no one to feel fear, and no one who can make a mistake under pressure. The weakest link, the human element, has finally been removed from the chain. But by solving this old problem, the Navy has created a new and perhaps much more dangerous one. We have removed the risk of human mistakes, but we have replaced it with the risk of machine logic. An artificial intelligence does not feel or understand things the way a person does. It has no bravery, but it also has no mercy. It follows its programming perfectly. But what happens if it sees something that it was not programmed for? What happens if an enemy uses a new trick to confuse its sensors? A human captain in that situation might realize that something is wrong and decide to be cautious. But the machine will only do what its millions of lines of code tell it to do. It cannot understand the difference between a smart decision and a disastrous one if the situation is completely new. A single, unexpected event could cause the AI to follow its rules perfectly and, in doing so, Start a conflict or a war without any human having a chance to stop it. This new horizon of warfare is inhuman. Not just because there are no people on board, but because the decisions are being made without any human understanding, without any human conscience, and without any human morality. The ghost in the machine is no longer just a passenger or a second captain. Now, the ghost is the captain, the crew, and the entire ship. It is sailing into a war where the rules were written for men, not for a thinking mind made of silicon and steel. The weakest link. Now, we can finally answer the question we asked at the very beginning. What makes the USS Virginia class Block 5 a secret weapon that is decades ahead of its time? The answer is not in its powerful missiles, and it is not in its silent pump jet engine. The true secret is that this submarine represents a complete change in how the United States Navy thinks about war. It is the first weapon that was built on the open admission that in modern warfare, the human being is the weakest link. This submarine is not just a tool for humans to use. It is a bridge between a time when people were in control and a future when machines will be. It is the last great submarine that was built for a human crew, and it is also the first submarine that was designed to watch, to judge, and eventually, to replace them. The entire story of the American submarine force has been a long, tragic journey toward this moment. It began with the ghosts of the past, with the lost sailors of the Thresher and the Scorpion, whose deaths proved that the human mind has limits under the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. That fear of human error led engineers to design new submarines like the Virginia class, with computer models and advanced systems that were built to prevent human mistakes. But that was not enough. They then placed an artificial intelligence, a second captain, into the control room to supervise the human crew and offer perfect, logical advice. And finally, this way of thinking led them to build the doomsday ships, the Columbia-class submarines, machines of absolute certainty for a mission that could not be trusted to human emotion. The Virginia Block 5 is the perfect middle step in this journey. The AI inside it is not just helping the crew on their missions. It is also learning from them. It is watching how humans react in stressful situations. It is studying their tactics. And it is collecting data on their weaknesses. It is using the human crew as its final teachers before it becomes smart enough to do the job all by itself. As we see in the new robot submarines like the Orca, the journey to create a perfect weapon was always in secret. A journey to remove the imperfect person. In their long search for a way to achieve total safety and guaranteed victory, the builders of these machines have created a perfect successor to humanity. So, the final, and most important, question is not about technology or about weapons. The question is about us, to protect ourselves from our own mistakes. How much of our control and how much of our own humanity are we willing to give away in the end?